Plants are great. They make your home look wonderful and can give you an enormous sense of well-being when everything is going well, but they can also be a challenge. I've been growing my plant collection for about 10 years now. I have over 200 plants under my care, so I feel like I've experienced all the ups and downs of plant parenthood. So this video is the God's honest truth, the good and the bad of growing a large collection of plants in your home so that you can decide whether you want your own indoor jungle. There are some problems that you might not have thought of, as well as some benefits that you'll find surprising, so let's go. The more plants I bring into my home, the more this first problem rears its ugly head, and it's a shocker that you definitely won't have thought about. You see, I live in a pretty humid climate. All the rain in the air means that my ambient humidity sits at around 70 to 80%. Add a whole bunch of plants transpire into the equation and I've got serious problems. Not problems for my plants, they love it of course, but problems for my house. I first noticed this when I was staring lovingly at my plants on this sofa one day. I looked down at the wall underneath the windowsill and could see a whole lot of black mould starting to take hold. The combination of this sofa being too close to the wall and all these plants above made it perfect for mould to settle on the wall and create an ugly mess. I looked around the rest of my home and the exact same thing was happening here. Not enough air circulation behind this plant shelving unit and things were getting grim. I've since created a bigger air gap between the furniture and the walls and thinned out the plants in these areas, as well as repainting of course, and things do seem to be better. So if you've not checked the walls underneath a bunch of plants in a while, I'd have a look. Mould can be a serious health hazard. I don't mind admitting, but I'm a bit of a strange fellow and I absolutely hate mess. I think I get it from my mum, who without fail hoovers her home at least 3 times a day, every single day. If you're watching mum, then hi! Anyway, plants and being a clean freak are not much of a match made in heaven, because they sure do create a lot of it. Some of it is of my own making of course, and that is on me. Never again will I be experimenting with soil poles as a substitute for moss poles. Ugh. But it's even things like new ficus leaves shedding their sheaths, peperomias dropping their annoying flower spikes, and succulents dropping leaves left, right and centre that can send me doolally. To stop me losing my marbles completely, I've had to make peace with the fact that plants are messy and there's not much I can do about it apart from needlessly obsessing. If that's not you, then maybe another hobby is the one. Something like writing? Now, let's be honest with ourselves for a minute. Keeping our plants in tip-top shape is a time sink, isn't it? We're talking hours a week if we want our plants to be gardeners world worthy. The pruning, the watering, the feeding, the yelling, it all takes a hell of a lot of time to keep our troops in line. In fact, let me know in the comments how much of your week you spend on your little green pals. It's probably about 6 hours for me, but maybe that's because I'm some sort of narcissistic pruner, but either way, looking after plant babies isn't the set it and forget it kind of deal. Forget them and, you know, they tend to die and all that. It is worth it for me though, as I'll share in the good reasons part of this video later. Now, imagine the scene. You're gliding around your living room, watering your plants, proud that you got the best collection in the neighbourhood, much better than John's 2 doors down, happy and content in life, until suddenly you stumble across your Ficus elastica that has developed 2 yellow leaves overnight. The stress is unimaginable, isn't it? I mean, plants aren't supposed to go yellow. This isn't what you signed up for. This is something every plant owner has to come to terms with. Seeing a problem, not knowing why, then having to use best judgment to try and correct it. Brown leaf tips and edges is a biggie for me. Can't stand it. Drives me nuts. So much so that I cut loose anything brown at first sight. Thankfully, all this stress is made so much easier with my free plant troubleshooting handbook that you can download with the link in the description. Got a yellow leaf? Look it up. Got some wilting in your water every week? Then look it up. It will steer you in the direction of why it's happening and then what to do about it. And it's free. Did I mention that? I'll be totally frank with you, if you want a hobby that isn't too painful on the wallet, then houseplants ain't the one. I can't imagine how much I've spent on my collection. It'll keep me up at night if I was to give it more than a second's thought, to be honest. Not only are there the many plants themselves, but also all the accessories you need like pruners, trays, fertilizer, water, gravestones, the list goes on. And I'm not even talking about rare plants either. Add that to the mix and you need the wealth of Warren Buffett to keep it all going. The trouble I find, and I'm sure you can relate to, is getting bored of your new darling. I don't know about you, but I often lust after a plant for months, finally succumb and buy it, but then get bored of it after a couple of weeks before moving on to my next obsession. Even if they're simple plants, it can all add up. £10 here, £20 there. Before long, you spent thousands. There is a way around this that I'll cover in a little bit, so stay tuned. If someone had told me that my home would become a playground to a collection of little gits, then I would have said thanks, but no thanks. I'm not talking about kids here, no, we're talking insects. You see, I'm a bit of a fairy when it comes to creepy crawlers. Oh, spider! I hate them. Mrs. Sheffield is the one that gets rid of spiders in this house. She's much tougher than me. We've got the annoying buggers like fungus gnats that constantly fly across your face when you're trying to watch the latest video from Sheffield Made Plants. Subscribe, by the way. And then there are the sinister little fellas like spider mites and thrips that make me go all itchy at just the thought of them. I stupidly thought my home would be a safe haven for plants from the bugs outside, but little did I know how easy it is for them to invade. Pests and plants is just something you'll need to get used to. You could have the most sterile home in the world, but bring in a new plant, the chances are it's got a bug or two on it. Even springtails, the harmless but hoppy white misters that tidy up the fungus and whatnot in the soil. Now, it's not all pain and suffering, of course. Plants may make you lose your hair quicker than you would like if things are not going to plan, but when the waters are calm, it can most definitely give you an enormous sense of well-being. Well, it does me anyway. Honest, it does. If you're a subscriber, then you'll not only have seen me lob countless plants in the bin, but also dote on them like they're my babies. I do like taking an hour to myself, away from Mrs. Sheffield and the kids, to prune, water, feed, or repot a few plants. It's my zen time. And what's better than taking a wee bubba to fully fledged adults? Nothing, I tell you, nothing at all. Check out this Monstera. I've called her Money, and I've had her for the longest time. Must be about 8 years or so now. Anyway, we bought her as a baby from IKEA and nurtured her into this sexy beast. She doesn't look amazing, don't get me wrong. She was with me very much during my experimental stage of plant care, which is why she's got these bamboo sticks trying to hold her up and she's looking a bit leggy, but I love her nonetheless. It's just like raising kids, although quieter and with much less chatback. So I started this video complaining about mould on the walls, but if you can get past things like that by making some adjustments, then your home will definitely look more, well, homely. You probably don't want 200 plants knocking around like me, but bringing a bit of nature from outside to in really softens your home up perfectly. The sprinkling of plants here or there really brings everything to life, doesn't it? Now, it can get a bit tricky when trying to balance what is right for the plant and what looks best for your home. These moss poles are the perfect example. Really, I'd want these showing off their leaves to the room, but that would mean the leaves are facing away from the light, so I have them with their bum facing the room. It looks a bit rubbish, doesn't it? And this is the sacrifice I've made. I want what's best for the plant and don't mind looking at ugly bums in the process. Eh? Having all these grow lights is part of it too. Some folks may say these look ugly, and they do obviously cost a bit of money to keep them on, but living in a dark home like I do means that I need these all over to have a halfway respectable collection. I mean, you're probably not that bothered if your Alocasia Frydek were to go dormant during winter and lose all his leaves, but this just drives me nuts, so I keep him under a grow light all year to stop that ever happening. One of the first things we get taught in science class in our younger days is that we have a lot to thank our green friends for. Without them, our planet wouldn't exist. They breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out lovely oxygen for us and all our animal kingdom brethren to breathe in. This fact, plus NASA's air quality study in the 80s, has made folks go wild with the idea that plants magically improve indoor air quality. Don't get me wrong, I love plants. They offer tons of benefits, but to actually have any impact on our indoor air quality, you'd need thousands of them in your room. Cool, imagine the gnats, eh? Now, you see a ton of videos on this, and even some plant companies use it in their marketing, but it's all a load of baloney, trust me. A single peace lily next to your bed is only going to look nice, nothing more. So, that way around spending loads of money on new plants that I alluded to earlier. It's actually one of my absolute favourite things to do with my plants because it really does make me feel like a true plant dad. I love nothing more than grabbing a plant, chopping off a limb despite all the cries, sticking it in water and watching it magically grow roots. When I first learned you could do this, my mind was blown. I thought, why isn't everyone doing this? It's just so satisfying. If you've not tried it yet, then what are you waiting for? Pretty much anything can be cloned in some way, shape or form. And the best bit is that when your plant is looking like it's going to give up the ghost, you can simply take a couple of cuttings, plants wave goodbye to the mother, knowing that the bloodline continues. And when a plant is born in your environment, it's much more likely to be attuned to your climate, so it should be much happier. Well, that's the theory anyway. I've actually got a brand new online course all about plant propagation you can check out in the description. It shows you everything you need to know to become a true plant parent from start to finish. When I started buying a few houseplants here or there, I soon found that I caught the bug. Probably just like you, seeing as you're watching this video. Before long, I was spending my Friday night sat on my sofa with my slippers on, watching Monty Don do his thing in the latest episode of Gardener's World. And I love it. The best bit about all of this is that there is plenty of content to consume to get your daily fix. Just look at all the channels on YouTube there are. There's always something new to learn and someone to show you how to do it. Most of the time, I'm not even looking to learn how to do something. I just like watching the energy folks put into caring for their plants, whatever they're doing. So be prepared to get addicted is all I'm saying. Now there are actually a whole bunch of scientific benefits to owning houseplants, the most unusual of which they can actually make you cleverer. I know, right? Sounds bananas, doesn't it? Makes all this pain, mess and money spent all worth it after all. I spilled the beans on why this is, plus all the other benefits in this video here, so make sure you click to watch it and I'll see you there.